The first bullet shattered the penthouse window at exactly 3:47 a.m. Naomi jerked awake to the sound of glass exploding inward, her heart slamming against her ribs. She'd been asleep for maybe an hour, curled up in the guest bedroom of G1's fortress. Now she was on her feet, disoriented, her medical training screaming at her to assess, to act, to survive. The second bullet punched through the wall 6 inches from her head. "Get down!" G1 burst through the door, already moving, already armed. He grabbed her and threw them both to the floor as automatic gunfire ripped through the room. The world became sound and chaos, glass raining down like deadly snow, wood splintering, the sharp crack of bullets finding walls and furniture and everything that wasn't flesh. Not yet. G1's body covered hers, his weight crushing her into the expensive carpet. She could feel his heart hammering against her back, could smell gunpowder and his cologne and fear. Yes, fear. Even he was afraid. "How many?" she gasped. "Too many." His voice was cold, controlled. The fear was gone, replaced by something else, something lethal. "Stay down, don't move until I come back for you." G1. But he was already gone, moving with brutal efficiency toward the sound of gunfire. She heard him shouting orders in rapid Korean, heard return fire, heard screams. Men screaming, dying. This was what she'd signed up for when she got in that car. This was the world she'd chosen. Naomi pressed herself flat against the floor and prayed. The attack lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes that felt like 17 hours. She stayed where G1 had left her, hands pressed over her ears, eyes squeezed shut, trying to block out the sounds of violence. It didn't work. Nothing worked. The gunfire was inside her head now, inside her chest, inside every breath. Then silence, worse than the noise, silence that could mean anything. "Naomi," G1's voice rough and strained. "It's over, you can get up." She opened her eyes. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lights, and he looked like something from a nightmare. Blood spattered across his face and chest, his shirt torn, a cut above his eyebrow bleeding down the side of his face, but alive, standing, victorious. "Are you hurt?" She was on her feet, her hands already reaching for him, doctor instincts overriding everything else. "Not my blood, mostly." He caught her hands. "We have wounded, my men, I need you." "I'm not a trauma surgeon." "You're what I have, please." That word again, please, from a man who gave orders and expected obedience. She nodded. The penthouse looked like a war zone. Broken glass everywhere, bullet holes in the walls, overturned furniture, and blood. So much blood. G1's men were scattered throughout the space, some standing guard, some tending to wounds, some lying very still on the floor. 4 dead. She counted them as G1 led her through the destruction. 4 bodies covered with sheets, waiting for whatever came next in this world of violence. But 6 wounded. 6 men bleeding, suffering, looking at her with desperate eyes. "The medical room," G1 said, guiding her through a door she hadn't noticed before. Inside was a fully equipped emergency medical facility. State-of-the-art equipment, pharmaceutical supplies, surgical tools. Everything she'd wished for that first night when she dug a bullet out of him on her couch. "You have a hospital in your penthouse." "Hospitals ask questions. I can't afford questions." He helped the first wounded man onto the examination table. Gunshot wound to the shoulder, through and through, nasty but survivable. "Can you help them?" She looked at the man on the table, then at the others waiting, then at G1, who was watching her with those dark, intense eyes. This was it, the moment where she stopped pretending, the moment where she chose, really chose, what side of the line she stood on. "Get me a surgical kit," she said, "and find me an assistant who won't faint at the sight of blood." G1's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Relief, gratitude, something deeper that made her heart twist. "Thank you," he said quietly. She worked for 3 hours straight, extracting bullets, suturing wounds, setting a broken arm, treating burns and lacerations. One man had a collapsed lung. She put in a chest tube with shaking hands and decades-old textbook knowledge, praying she remembered the procedure correctly. When his breathing stabilized, she wanted to cry with relief. Ji-won stayed with her the entire time, helping where he could, holding men down when she had to hurt them to help them, murmuring reassurances in Korean. He was good at this. Calm, steady, like he'd done it before. How many times had he done this before? By the time she finished with the last patient, dawn was breaking. Again. Another night stolen by violence, another morning arrived in blood. Naomi stripped off her gloves and leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. Her hands were steady, but the rest of her was shaking. "You saved them," Ji-won said. He'd cleaned up while she worked, changed his shirt, bandaged his own cuts. Now he stood close, too close, watching her with that intensity that made it hard to breathe. "All of them will live because of you." "I'm a doctor. It's what I do." "No," he moved closer. "You're a doctor who just saved the lives of criminals, men who kill for money, men who have done terrible things. You crossed a line tonight, Naomi. There's no going back." She knew, God, she knew. Her hands were stained with their blood now. She'd used her skills, her training, her oath to heal in service of a syndicate. She'd become complicit. Fully, completely complicit. "I hate you for this," she whispered. "I know." His hand came up, gentle, brushing blood from her cheek. She hadn't realized she had blood on her face. "But you did it anyway. Why?" "Because you asked." The truth, raw and painful. "Because they were dying and I couldn't just let them die. Because I'm still a doctor, even when I don't want to be. Even when it costs you everything. Even then." He kissed her, soft at first, tentative like he was asking permission. She should have pulled away, should have maintained some boundary, some last defense. But she was tired of boundaries, tired of fighting, tired of pretending she didn't feel this pull toward him, this connection forged in blood and desperation. She kissed him back. It was different from the almost kiss in her apartment. That had been tentative, interrupted. This was urgent, raw, tasting of violence and survival. His hands in her hair, her fingers gripping his shirt, both of them seeking something in the other. Comfort, confirmation, life. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "There's something I need to do," he said. "A ritual. It will bind us together, protect you in ways words can't. But once it's done, there's no undoing it. Ever. You need to understand that before you agree." "What kind of ritual?" "A blood oath. In my world, it's the highest form of loyalty, the deepest bond. We'll be connected, you and I, your enemies become mine. My protection becomes absolute. But your freedom..." He pulled back to look at her. "Your freedom becomes limited, conditional. You'll be mine, Naomi, truly mine. Part of this family, this syndicate, this life. Is that something you can accept?" Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to run, to get as far from this man and his world as possible. But where would she run to? Her apartment, where his enemies now knew she lived. Her clinic, where her reputation was already being destroyed by whispers and lies. Back to Houston, to a father who'd never wanted her, to a life that had never fit. And the truth was, she didn't want to run. Not from him, not anymore. "What does the ritual involve?" "Blood, mine and yours, mixed, sealed with words and witnesses. It's old, traditional, binding in ways your laws don't recognize but my world does, absolutely. If I refuse, then I'll protect you as best I can, but it won't be enough. My enemies will always see you as separate from me, vulnerable, a target. The oath makes you untouchable, part of the family, sacred." Sacred, what a word to use for something involving blood and violence. "And if I agree, what do I become?" "Mine," he repeated. "And I become yours. It goes both ways, Naomi. Your life becomes my responsibility. My life becomes your burden. We survive together or we fall together. There's no middle ground." She thought about her medical oath. First, do no harm. She'd broken that tonight, shattered it. She'd healed men who would go out and hurt others, kill others. She'd already crossed the line. Maybe it was time to stop pretending the line still existed. "Okay," she said, "I'll do it." Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He smiled, sharp and almost sad. "That seems to be your pattern with me." The ritual took place that evening. Ji-won had spent the day making arrangements, cleaning up the aftermath of the attack, dealing with bodies and damage and the business of survival. Naomi had slept fitfully, haunted by gunfire and blood, waking every few hours in a panic. Now she stood in the penthouse living room, surrounded by Ji-won's men, his inner circle, the ones who'd survived the attack. They watched her with calculating eyes, measuring her worth, her strength. She stood straight and met their gazes, refusing to show fear. Ji-won stood at the center, changed into a black suit, looking every inch the prince of his dark empire. He held a ceremonial knife, ornate and obviously old. Beside him stood an older man she hadn't seen before, his face scarred, his presence commanding. "This is Kang Min-seok," Ji-won said. "My brother, he'll bear witness." The brother, the heir, the one being groomed to take over. He studied Naomi with cold assessment, then nodded slightly. Permission, approval, she couldn't tell. "Dr. Ade," Min-seok said in perfect English. "My brother has chosen to bind himself to you. This is unprecedented, dangerous, but his choice is made. The question is, do you understand what you're accepting?" "I'm accepting him," she said simply. "All of him, the good and the terrible, the protection and the cost, I understand." "Do you?" Min-seok stepped closer. "You're a healer. He's a destroyer. You save lives. He ends them. This contradiction, this imbalance, it will tear you apart eventually." "Maybe, but I'd rather be torn apart with him than safe without him." Min-seok's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Respect, perhaps, or pity. "Then let the ritual begin." Ji-won held out his left hand, palm up. He spoke in Korean, words that sounded ancient, formal. Then he drew the knife across his palm. Blood welled up, dark and immediate. He held out the knife to Naomi. Her hand trembled as she took it. The handle was warm from his grip. She looked at her own palm, smooth and unmarked, and thought about all the hands she'd held as a doctor. Patient's hands. Her mother's hand, thin and weak in those final days. Hands that had trusted her to heal. Now she would mark herself, scar herself, bind herself to violence and blood. She drew the blade across her palm. The pain was sharp, bright, grounding. Her blood joined his blood, both of them bleeding, both of them marked. Ji-won took her wounded hand in his wounded hand. Their blood mixed, warm and sticky, their fingers intertwining. He spoke more words in Korean, his voice strong and certain. An oath, a promise, a claiming. Then he switched to English for her. "Your blood in my veins, my blood in yours, your enemies are mine. My protection is yours. Your life is sacred to me. My death would be avenged by you. We are bound. We are one, witnessed and sealed." Witnessed and sealed, the men around them repeated in unison. Naomi felt it then, something shifting inside her, not mystical or magical, but real all the same. A choice made permanent, a door closing and another opening. The last piece of her old self dying, something new and unknown taking its place. "Say the words," Ji-won prompted gently. "Claim me as I've claimed you." She looked at their joined hands, at the blood mixing and dripping onto the floor. At the men watching, at Min-seok's impassive face, at Ji-won, who watched her with something like hope in his dark eyes. "Your blood in my veins," she repeated. "My blood in yours, your enemies are mine, my protection is yours, your life is sacred to me. Your death would be avenged by me. We are bound, we are one." Witnessed and sealed, the room echoed. Ji-won pulled her close and kissed her, not gentle this time, possessive, claiming, in front of his brother, his men, his world, announcing her as his, and him as hers. When he released her, he wrapped both their bleeding hands in a white cloth. The blood soaked through immediately, red blooming across white, beautiful and terrible. "It's done," Min-seok said. "She is family now, protected as family. Any harm to her is harm to the Kang Syndicate. Let it be known." The men nodded, accepting. Just like that, she'd become one of them, part of the family, part of the violence, part of it all. Ji-won led her away from the gathering, to his private quarters. He cleaned and bandaged their hands in silence, his touch gentle despite the brutality he was capable of. When he finished, he pulled her close, holding her like she might disappear. "No regrets?" he asked quietly. "1,000 regrets," she admitted. "But not about this, not about you. I'll protect you, I swear it." "I know, but who protects you from yourself?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. No one, that's the problem. They stood there in the quiet, holding each other, two damaged people bound together by blood and choice and desperate need. Outside, souls sparkled in the darkness, beautiful and dangerous, like everything else in this new life. The attack on Naomi's reputation began 3 days after the blood oath. She woke to 17 missed calls and a text from her colleague at the clinic. Just 3 words, "What did you do?" She called back with shaking hands. "Sarah, what's going on?" "You haven't seen it." Sarah's voice was tight. "Check the news, check social media. Naomi, they're destroying you." The headlines were everywhere. Doctor under investigation for malpractice. American physician linked to criminal organization. Medical license under review. And worse, so much worse, article after article detailing supposed complaints from patients, accusations of negligence, claims of unethical behavior. All lies. Sophisticated, carefully crafted lies designed to destroy her career, her reputation, her identity as a healer. Who did this? She demanded, but she already knew. G1's enemies, the ones who'd attacked the penthouse. They'd failed to kill her, so now they were killing everything else. Everything she was, everything she'd worked for. G1 found her on the floor of the guest room, surrounded by her laptop and phone, tears streaming down her face. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just gathered her up and held her while she broke. "They took it," she sobbed. "Everything, my career, my reputation. 12 years of training gone. Who's going to believe me? Who's going to trust me now?" "I trust you," his voice was fierce. "My men trust you. Everyone who matters trusts you." "That's not enough," she pulled away. "I'm a doctor. G1 was a doctor. That was my identity, my purpose. And now it's gone because of you, because I saved you, because I chose you." "I know," he looked wrecked. "I'm sorry. God, Naomi, I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back what I lost." "No, but revenge does." His expression hardened. "I'll find who did this. I'll make them pay. I'll make them hurt the way you're hurting." "That won't bring back my career." "No, but it will send a message that you're mine, that harming you has consequences, brutal, permanent consequences." She wanted to tell him no, wanted to say that more violence wouldn't fix anything. But the truth was she wanted them to hurt, wanted them to pay, wanted someone to feel the pain she was feeling. When had she become this person, this woman who craved revenge? The answer was simple. When she'd mixed her blood with his, when she'd stopped being just Naomi and became Naomi and G1. Bound, changed, corrupted or evolved depending on how you looked at it. "Find them," she said. "Do what you have to do." His smile was sharp and terrible, already on it. It took G1 48 hours to identify everyone involved in the smear campaign, the rival syndicate who'd ordered it, the private investigator who'd fabricated evidence, the journalists who'd run the stories without verification, the social media accounts spreading the lies. He showed her the list, 23 names, 23 people who'd participated in destroying her. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Make an example." He said it so calmly, like it was obvious, like there was no other option. "They need to understand that you're not to be touched, that attacking you is attacking me, that there are lines you don't cross. You're going to kill them. Some of them, the ones who ordered it, the ones who profited from it, the rest," he shrugged, "will learn to fear your name." She should have been horrified, should have begged him not to, should have held onto some piece of her ethical core and refused to let him commit murder in her name. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, "When?" "Tonight." He took her bandaged hand, the one that matched his. "You don't have to watch. You can stay here safe, separate. I'll handle it." "No," she met his eyes. "If you're doing this for me, I need to see it. I need to understand what protection costs, what I cost." "Naomi, I'm bound to you now. Your world is my world. I can't hide from it anymore. I won't." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded, slow and solemn. "Okay, but once you see this, you can't unsee it. You understand." "I understand." She didn't, not really. Not until that night when G1 took her to a warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. When she saw the men bound to chairs, terror in their eyes. When she heard their pleading, their crying, their promises. When she watched Ji-won become the monster his reputation claimed. He was methodical, efficient, almost gentle in the way he explained to each man exactly why this was happening. Your actions had consequences. You hurt someone under my protection. This is what happens when you cross that line. Then he hurt them, not quickly, not mercifully. He made them suffer the way he wanted Naomi's attackers to suffer, made them understand on a visceral level that some debts are paid in pain. Naomi stood in the shadows and watched. She didn't look away, didn't close her eyes, didn't hide. This was being done for her, in her name. She owed it to them and to herself to witness it. 3 men died that night. Quick deaths by Ji-won's standards. Bullets to the head, professional and clean. The others were released with warnings and scars. Physical reminders of what happened when you targeted the Kang Syndicate's own. When it was over, when the warehouse was silent except for the sound of survivors sobbing, Ji-won came to her. Blood on his hands, death in his eyes, monster made manifest. "Say something," he said. "Anything. Take me home." That's all, no horror, no judgment, no telling me I'm a monster. "You are a monster," she said it plainly. "But you're my monster, and those men tried to destroy me, so yes, take me home." Something shifted in his expression, not relief, something darker. Like he'd hoped she'd be horrified, hoped she'd reject him, and now that she hadn't, he didn't know what to do with her acceptance. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. She stared out the window, watching Seoul pass by, lights and life and normalcy. A world that had no idea what happened in shadows. What people like Ji-won did to maintain their power. What people like her accepted in exchange for protection. That night, for the first time, Naomi went to Ji-won's bedroom instead of the guest room. She didn't knock. Just walked in, found him standing by the window, still in his blood-stained clothes, staring out at the city. "I need you," she said. He turned. "Naomi." "Don't talk, don't explain, don't apologize, just..." She crossed to him. "I need to feel alive. I need to feel something other than this hollowness, please." He understood. God help them both, he understood. He kissed her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Like she was the only good thing in his dark world. Like she could save him even though they both knew she couldn't. They fell into bed together, desperate and fierce. It wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was survival. 2 broken people seeking comfort in the only way left to them, through touch, through heat, through the temporary forgetting that came with losing yourself in another person. Afterward, they lay tangled together, both breathing hard, both changed in ways that couldn't be undone. "I love you," Ji-won said into the darkness. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first night when you saved me, maybe when you agreed to the blood oath, but I love you, and I'm sorry that my love comes with so much darkness." Naomi traced the scar on his shoulder, the burn mark, the evidence of his violent life. "I love you too, and I'm terrified of what that means, what I'll become because of it." "You'll become who you choose to become, same as always." "Will I, or would your world swallow me whole?" "I won't let it," he pulled her closer. "I'll protect you from everything, including myself if I have to." "You can't protect me from yourself. We're bound, remember? Your blood in my veins, my blood in yours, I'm part of this now. Part of you, for better or worse." "Mostly worse." "Yeah," she agreed, "mostly worse." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, 2 souls bound by blood and choice and desperate love. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, the penthouse stood silent, a fortress against the world. But no fortress could hold forever. No protection was absolute, and the enemies circling in the darkness were patient, waiting for their moment to strike. The smear campaign died overnight. Articles were retracted, apologies issued. Her clinic received anonymous donations to compensate for any damage to their reputation. Her name was slowly, carefully cleared. But the damage was done. Naomi couldn't go back to her old life. Even if her reputation was restored, she'd changed too much, seen too much, done too much. The woman who'd arrived in Seoul 6 months ago, fresh from heartbreak and seeking peace, was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone harder, someone who'd watched men die and felt satisfaction instead of horror, someone who'd bound herself to a monster and called it love. "I need to tell you something," she said one morning over coffee. They'd fallen into a routine, domestic and strange. Mornings together, his empire's business during the day, evenings planning how to survive the next attack. "I'm listening. I can't go back to the clinic, even with my name cleared. I can't treat civilians anymore. Can't pretend to be impartial. Can't separate my medical ethics from my personal loyalties." He set down his cup carefully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to work for you. Officially, be the syndicate's doctor. Treat your men, handle medical emergencies, be useful in the only way I know how. But on your side of the line. Fully. Completely." "Naomi, you don't have to." "I want to, I need to. My identity as a healer is all I have left. If I can't heal in the light, I'll heal in the shadows. With you. For you. It's the only thing that makes sense anymore." He reached across the table, took her bandaged hand in his matching one. Two halves of the same whole. Two broken pieces fitting together. "Okay," he said. "You'll be ours, the family doctor. Protected, valued, essential. No one will touch you, ever. And when I have to treat people you've hurt, when I have to heal your enemies so you can hurt them again, then you do what you have to do, what you can live with. I won't ask you to compromise more than you already have. I've compromised everything. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure it wasn't for nothing." She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this terrible choice she'd made would lead somewhere other than destruction. But in her heart, she knew the truth. They were dancing on a knife's edge. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and they'd both fall. The only question was whether they'd fall together or drag each other down separately. The weeks that followed were strange. Naomi settled into her new role, treating Jiwon's men, setting up proper medical protocols, essentially running a private hospital for criminals. It should have felt wrong. Should have felt like a betrayal of everything she stood for. But it didn't. It felt like purpose, like finally having a place where she belonged. These men trusted her, respected her, protected her. She was family now, part of something bigger than herself. Even if that something was built on blood and violence. Jiwon's enemies continued to test boundaries, but carefully now. The message had been received. Dr. Naomi Ade was off-limits, untouchable, sacred. The protection came with a price. She couldn't leave the penthouse without guards, couldn't make decisions without considering the syndicate's interests, couldn't be just Naomi anymore. She was Jiwon's, bound by blood and oath and love. Some days she resented it. The cage, however gilded, the loss of freedom, the slow erosion of who she used to be. Other days, she looked at Jiwon and felt nothing but gratitude for his protection, his love, his willingness to burn the world down to keep her safe. "Do you regret it?" he asked one night. They were in bed, that space where truth lived between them. "The oath, binding yourself to me, all of it." She thought about it, really thought about who she'd been and who she'd become, about the life she'd lost and the life she'd gained. "No," she said finally. "I regret what it cost, what I had to give up, what I had to see, but the choice itself, choosing you, no, I'd do it again. Even knowing how it ends. It hasn't ended yet. But it will, violently. People like me don't get happy endings. Then we'll make our own ending, on our terms, together." He kissed her forehead, gentle and sad. "You have more faith than I deserve." "Probably, but love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. And I choose you, every day, every moment, even when it's hard, even when it costs everything." "Your blood in my veins," he whispered. "My blood in yours," she completed. They held each other in the darkness, bound by more than blood, bound by choice, by love, by the terrible understanding that they'd found something precious in the worst possible place and now had to fight to keep it. Outside, souls slept. Inside, two broken people clung to each other and called it salvation. The truth was simpler and more complicated. They weren't saving each other. They were surviving each other. And in a world like theirs, survival was the closest thing to love they'd ever find. But it was enough. It had to be enough. Because there was no going back, no undoing the blood oath. No erasing the choices made or the lines crossed. There was only forward, together, into whatever darkness waited. And if that darkness consumed them both, at least they'd face it bound to each other. Blood to blood, heart to heart, monster and healer, destroyer and doctor. Two halves of an impossible whole. Thank you for watching episode 2. If you made it this far, you're incredible. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on the blood oath, and subscribe because episode 3 is going to be explosive. What do you think happens when enemies strike again? Can love survive in this world of violence? And has Naomi lost herself completely or found who she was always meant to be? Let me know your theories. Until next time, remember, some bonds can never be broken, even when they should be.